see. Okay, if you can see my slides, can you give me a yes in chat? Maybe. Awesome. Okay, you're there. That's good. All right, now there's not many of you here, so that's actually, we can have more of a chance for conversation. So I'll go through some of these points, but don't hesitate to ask questions or have comments. So hello, super nice to see you. I hope you're having a good time at the hackathon. Well, actually, it's not a hackathon, right? It's TO Hacks, but you're in like a 4-week boot camp, which is amazing. Just amazing to get a chance to really dive into your ideas. Can you give me an indication in the chat if you've been on a work term or a co-op or an internship before? Has anybody done this before? Yes, one co-op term. Ooh, good. First placement. Oh, and we've got some nopes and some yeses. Okay, good. So who am I? Not yet. I love the optimism there. And who am I and why do I know about co-ops? So I lead the Dev Degree program at Shopify. If you haven't heard about Dev Degree, it's like a 4-year work integrated learning program where our students go to school part-time and they work for us part-time. They get about 4 placements in the 4 years it takes for them to complete their degree. So like 4 co-ops. And we work with them to help them make sure that they get the most out of those placements. Reason number 2, I did my undergraduate degree in computer science like forever ago. And 3 years in, I was really sick of it. I was ready to quit, but I didn't quit. I ended up doing a 16-month internship instead. And that was fantastic. It totally changed my experience, my understanding of my classes, and it set the course for my career. After I graduated school, I went back to that company for 15 years and enjoyed every minute of it. I'd still be there, but the company is no longer there. Okay, reason number 3, why I have some experience to share with you is that I work with a team of people at Shopify who support people in starting their careers. We call this team Early Talent. Dev Degree is part of this team. Our internship program is part of this team, and our new Apprentice Product Manager program. So we provide these work experiences to folks as a way to build their skill set and as a first step in the door, and explore everything you want to do. So what do we tell our folks who come in for these work experiences? First thing, come prepared for learning. Work is different than a classroom, but you're still at work to learn. And so there's a really logistical and physical aspect to this, like come prepared to take notes. When people tell you something, write it down. I remember from my co-op, I always had my supervisor say, I don't have to tell you the same thing twice. It's that straightforward, but in a more conceptual aspect, coming prepared for learning is like a mindset. So you are coming in the door with a demonstrated skill set, and you have experience to share with your team, but be open to their advice and figure out how your experience fits into the team. All right, let me see if I can make the slide go. This is a funny one, know the culture. And I kind of think of it as like work hygiene. And it's really important to take care of the basics there. A lot of companies, we do at Shopify, we have something called onboarding. So there'll be a couple of days at the beginning of your co-op. They'll tell you things like company values. They'll tell you like expected work hours, what events. We have town hall on Thursday. We like everybody to go to, take notes during that session, fill out all of the forms. There's going to be a million forms, fill them all out. That's how you get paid. But understand that how your immediate team handles things may be different than onboarding. And it's always better to ask how to take time off than make any assumptions about like how flex time works. Flex time is never as flex as you think it is. Know what your expected work hours are and communicate any changes. One of our mantras with the dev degree program is communication is key. You cannot over communicate with your lead and mentors when it comes to letting them know where you are, how to get a hold of you, and what they can expect from you. Another clue to knowing the culture is to observe the people around you really carefully. That's super hard in a remote environment, but watch the Slack channels, watch whatever Microsoft Teams, I guess, whatever channels you're using for discussion. Watch how the teams are interacting. What are they wearing when they're on a remote meeting? Do your team keep the cameras on? Do your teams keep the cameras off? Just watch how they work together and how they interact. I always recommend that it's better to be a little bit more than a little bit less. Like it's better to be a little too formal rather than a little too casual. And that, I mean, dress is one thing, but how you address people, how you communicate with people, how you send out meeting invites, that kind of thing. This is one of my favorite ones, and it's kind of an obvious one. Like it's okay to ask questions. And when you ask questions, it's also okay to get I've got a word, get meta. What do I mean by this? You're going to be doing technical things and you're going to have technical problems to solve. Ask all your questions about that. Requirements, constraints, assumptions, what libraries are you using, all those kind of things. But don't be scared to ask questions about how you're working as well as what you're working on. So a question like that, like someone may give you a piece of work and you could talk about the work and then you could say, how long do you think it will take me? What should be my first step? When can we check in? And what should I have done when we check in? Most important question, what should I do when I'm blocked? So you'll hear this phrase a lot, right? If you're not using it already, blocked is just, I'm stuck and I can't move forward. And work with your mentor or your supervisor to figure out just how, like they may not want you to stay blocked for long. They may only want you to stay blocked for an hour or two. Honestly, that's how quickly things move. And it's okay to ask that, what should I do? And what is the best way to ask my questions? And the next part of that is kind of the goes with the get meta. When someone tells you something, take notes. Don't make them repeat themselves. When you're blocked, do your research. Come prepared to talk about what you've tried and why you've tried it, and do as much of the work as you can. If you've got time on someone's calendar, use it. Bring your questions. A lot of interns I've talked to, they'll work closely with a mentor, but then they may have monthly discussions with the lead and they're not sure what to say. But your lead has a great deal of context that they can share with you. Ask about the team, ask about how the team formed, ask about what the team's going to be doing over the next 6 months of the year. You can even always ask about someone's career path. It's always interesting. It's never as straightforward as you think, and it could give you insight into what you'd like to do with your career path. Another thing that kind of seems obvious, but you may not be sure how to handle it, is how to meet the rest of your team. So the people you meet on co-op are your network, and it's really important to take the time to meet the people you're working with. Watch your office culture again. I know at Shopify, something like a quick coffee chat is a really great way to start building a relationship. We have something called sidekicks. You can meet other people in the company, but even just a quick meeting to get to know someone and to ask about their work can really help you build a network and help you move forward if your lead or mentor isn't available. Don't forget to take the time to engage with other interns or other students at your workplace. You can learn so much from them. If you think about it, those students are coming into work with you. They may have come from different places to work, which are connections for you to go find more work. And they're going to go out to different companies to work at throughout their career. I'm still in touch with lots of the folks I did on my internship, which was a really long time ago. And it's been awesome following their career path. And it's through those connections that I know what it's like to work at like Amazon or Google, pick Google, or Facebook, because these folks have been working in all of these different companies. It's great. The next one you're going to hear all the time. Be open to feedback and consider it carefully. What your lead and mentor are telling you is trying to help you present yourself the best professionally and get the work done. If you don't understand what they're saying, it's okay to ask questions. If you're still struggling, you can find someone to help. You can always reach out to HR or talent in a company to say, hey, I'm having problems understanding this piece of feedback I've been given. But understand too that not all feedback is good feedback. Sometimes it feels like you're just getting feedback from everyone. I was just having a discussion last night. My son is just completing his first work term. And I said, hey, I'm giving this talk tomorrow. What do you think I should tell them? And he said, you have to pick and choose who to listen to for feedback. He's got someone on his team for sure who loves to give feedback, but it's actually the feedback from his direct supervisor and mentor that's important to him moving forward. At Shopify, we have a phrase we use all the time. We say, do things, tell people. So do the work and share what you've done. Sometimes you'll be on placement, it might be your first co-op, your first placement, and you'll get some real grunt work that may not be super exciting for you to do, but just do it. And then, do it fast, tell them it's done. Even as a senior developer, you get grunt work that you're not always happy to do, but sometimes it just has to be done. But oftentimes interns come in, and as they're coming up to speed on the repo, you'll be fixing bugs, you'll be tracking issues, and that is such a great way to learn. A lot of our dev degree interns, they get really good at switching teams and switching repos, and they'll just go in and start on the backlog because they know that they're not super urgent issues, but they're issues that need fixing, and they can help them learn and navigate so that once they're comfortable, they can get those more exciting tickets or projects and work through them really quickly. The sharing what you've done is super important because work that people don't know about, it's almost like, if a tree falls in the forest and if no one's around, does it make a sound? If work gets done, unless you tell someone, people won't know it's done. And it's important that you share your contributions to the company. Let your mentor know, let your lead know. By reflecting on what you've done and what you're doing as you share it, it's almost like it's a learning aspect, like you've done the work, you've gone through it, you've shown it to another person, and you've gotten their feedback on it. So it helps you with your presentation and communication skills, which will the sharing will just, and the work, as the work gets more complex, your communication skills will improve too. And last but not least, as I fly through this little presentation here, is own your career. Apply to lots of co-ops, know what you're looking for. One piece of advice I give all the time is an interview is just as much about you checking out the company, their culture, their teams, as it is about the company checking out you. So You know, if you get a funny vibe at an interview, listen to it. While you're at a company, use the opportunity you have while you are working there to, as I mentioned before, meet people, grow your network, explore different career paths. It's totally okay to reach out to someone else in a company in a role you're interested in. You might be interested in a project management role or a product manager role. And those are roles that you don't really get right out of school, but how you get there can actually be really interesting. And it's useful to talk to the folks in those different kinds of roles when you have an opportunity to. As I mentioned, you may have career development discussions with your lead. Go in prepared. Ask your lead about their career path. Ask all the questions, ask the questions you have. It's, we get lots of questions sometimes like, what electives did you take in school? There's so many different ways to get to different paths to get to where you're going. It's useful and it's interesting to see all the variations. And when you ask their advice, take it seriously. Of course, times change. It's a lot different working as a dev now than when I first started, but it's still good advice, and you'll be able to get a good sense of what it takes to get to where you want to go. And I don't have a slide for this one, but everyone tells me the same thing, like have fun. Sometimes a co-op is a chance to take a break from school for 4 months. Our dev degree interns don't get a chance to take that break, but that break is a good time to concentrate on work while you're there in the office and enjoy yourself and build up a network to explore other things instead of doing homework or courses on the side when you're not studying. So those are my top tips for sure. And I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. I'm looking at the chat. It's pretty quiet there. No questions?
I guess I can start with one question.
Sure.
You mentioned that not all feedback is good feedback. How do you decide what to filter out?
Look to your lead and mentor. So in my son's instance, the person who was giving him all of this feedback on how he liked things done wasn't in his direct chain and wasn't the person who was directing his work. So look first to the folks who are directing your work and take their feedback. There will be instances where you're collaborating with other teams. Definitely take their feedback seriously and run it through your mentor or lead if you have any questions about the feedback. But it's always like in a company, it's usually really clear that it's the folks who are evaluating your work performance, their feedback is the most important. And I see there's another question in the chat. Do you have any advice for students who are looking for co-ops? Yes, for sure. Like just dive in, go to the co-op office at your school if you're still in school. Keep an eye on the companies you're interested in. So they all have different schedules. At Shopify, we post our openings for we intake every semester, and the job posting is only up for 2 weeks. At the very beginning, it's like the last week of the semester 2 before, like if you wanted September, then at the end of April and the beginning of May, you have to start looking for the job posting, and you can sign up on our website for the postings. So look through all the postings, look through your co-op office. And even if you don't think you match the requirements 100%, like even if you're only at 60% or 70%, it's still okay to apply. Definitely apply because they know you're learning. So when I applied for my internship, I mean, I had 3 years of university. I had a lot of customer service experience. I mean, I grew up in a small town, so I did work at Kentucky Fried Chicken and Loblaws and all those kinds of places. And that was actually really interesting to the team who hired me because they served clients. They knew I had minimal software development experience, but that customer experience aspect was what got me hired. So don't worry if share what you've done, share who you are, and don't try to be someone else because they're trying to. You don't have a full context of what they want beyond the job description. And the interview is really a chance for you guys to suss each other out. And don't focus on like 3, like think many applications. Take advice from other interns, who are working. Hey, you've got a Shopify co-op. Did you enjoy your co-op? How did it work? And can you refer me? So you can get internal referrals to companies if you've got a friend working at Shopify and you want to get into the next hiring cycle for interns, ask them to refer you internally for sure. And most tech companies have those kind of programs in place. They might even make a couple $100, which would be great. Good incentive, right?
Yeah. So I had a question.
Sure.
So I think typically from my experience and what friends have told me, the most difficult thing about getting the first co-op is, making sure you stand out, having a good resume, and, just building connections. So I guess, do you have any tips in terms of just standing out amongst the crowd?
A cover letter really helps. And a cover letter that is unique to the position you're being hired for. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. It can, hi, I saw, your job posting for this role. I am interested in this role because, and it could be something simple. I have a friend who's working for your company and it seems really cool. And I think I'm a good fit for this role. For whatever reason. Why something that simple can be so effective is that because people are making so many applications, they're often just blank applying to the applications. And the fact that you've read the application and taken the time to think about it and understand it is very effective. Some of our internship applications too have coding challenges. So they want you to do a coding challenge when you apply. So take the time to do those kind of challenges and things like that. If you haven't, that challenge will open the door to the next step of the interview process. So it's working your way in detail, which is horrible and time consuming, I know, through every step of the application process and being actively engaged in it. That actually really makes you stand out.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Does Shopify have part-time internships? No, our internships are full-time. They're usually either 4 months or you can get them extended to 8 months. Dev Degree is a part-time internship program, but it's also a full 4-year commitment where you're doing your undergraduate degree at the same time. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I actually noticed that Shopify had positions for, I think, full-time positions already, and I think it said cover letter as well. Do you actually look at the cover letter?
Yeah.
Wow.
Our screeners will